Welcome back to the Wizard Shop, and today's video is about how an exotic car repair doesn't have to have large amounts of parts or quantity of parts for the price to climb through the roof. Let's get started. This is a 2007 Maserati Quatroporte Automatica, which means it has an automatic. It does not have the F1 style flappy paddles, as Clarkson said. It is not in really good shape, but the customer bought it that way on purpose. They bought it as a salvage or a rebuilder, and they're going to slowly fix it up over time. So we'll take a quick look at it today. It is not in the best of shape. You can easily find things like this on Marketplace, BMWs, Maseratis, Porsches, all kinds of different makes and models of high-end or exotic cars. They were $100,000, $200,000 new, and they're for sale. You're looking at it on your computer screen for $5 grand or 10 grand. You're like, man, that's a smoking deal. But it's not. It never is. I have found with these cars, sometimes it is more cost effective to just spend the 25 grand and buy a nice one, or 30 or 40 or whatever these are going for. Because by the time you get everything fixed on this, you'll be there anyways. So we'll take a quick look around this, then we're going to talk about what's wrong and how we got it apart, and there was even more wrong. So here's the front of this beautiful Maserati. It's got a nice front end, doesn't it, Mrs. Wizard?
I do like Maseratis.
Yep, this one is in good shape up front. The front end and things, and the paint is not too bad, but we'll go around to the side. It does have 19-inch nice black wheels that look really nice on this car. And again, the paint is really not so bad on this car. It has a lot of mechanical issues. There's a little bit of a, I don't know if that's tree sap or what that is, from a tree or something. You can see the molding up here is starting to bubble. We come around to the back. Again, it looks clean. It looks all right. It looks nice. I do like the rear of these Quattroportes. They look very classy. I might get one someday, Mrs. Wizard.
I don't know. You've got a Ferrari over there that is flying at the moment with missing a few wheels.
Yeah. So as we go down the side, it's pretty much the same story. There is a small dent here. And also right here, a little couple of dings. Really not that big of a deal. And you can see that this wheel is off, and there's some things in there that we're going to talk about. Let's take a look real quick at the interior. So the exterior wasn't too bad, but as we get into the interior, it is bad. One thing you can see right here is this wood paneling. About to come apart. One of the customer's concerns is he wanted us to replace just the screen on this radio. You cannot buy just the screen. I can buy a good used unit, and they're very expensive, $500, $600, $700. But it has to be programmed to the car using Maserati software that is security coded. I do not pay for a subscription to Maserati's servers to utilize those things. So I will not be able to program it for him. So it doesn't make sense for me to replace it. So we skip that. We're not going to do anything with the radio. You can see the leather is deteriorating right here. You can see the lug nut covers in the cup holder. This here just spins. It just comes off. It still works. There's a little illuminated little display, like a little light that goes here, is missing. More deteriorated leather. So we could go all day long. There's little things here and there that are just missing, broken, deteriorated all through the interior. The whole interior is pretty bad. So we're not going to spend a whole hour doing that, but you get the idea. The inside is not so nice at all. Most of the parts of this car can be bought on eBay in used condition, so it can be repaired piece by piece. I think that's what the customer's going to do, is slowly go through and replace and repair and get it in at least a much better condition. But right now it's a work in progress. Here is our, I think it's a 4.0, it could be a 4.2. I'm not exactly which one this one is, but you can see the blue valve covers denotes it is an automatic. If it was F1 transmission, it would have red valve covers. Let's see exactly what engine size this is. You can see 4.2 LEV. So it is the 4.2 engine. One thing it needs is motor mounts and transmission mounts. When this thing's running, you can fill it through the entire car. And I know from experience that those are like $1,000 a piece. They're extremely expensive. So it runs and drives fine. It doesn't have any serious issues with the engine, but there is a lot to do appearance-wise in here to make it look better. Let's get this thing up in the air and take a look underneath. There's a lot of things you can do on one of these cars if you're a do-it-yourself mechanic that you can save a lot of money, but motor mounts, you really need to have a lift. You could literally get hurt trying to do that on jack stands. I really don't advise people do that because of the safety concern, but let's go ahead and take a look underneath. Radiator area is nice and dry, no issues going on with leaks there. Here's our engine. I can see right away that the motor mounts are bad because it's so close to the cross member here, but nothing leaking. You know, this thing you've seen, it's been treated pretty rough from whoever's owned it in the past. And the idea, all these Maseratis, they leak, they're piles of crap. I don't know. It's not leaking. When we go back here, we can see here's our ZF automatic transmissions, also not leaking. Here's the exhaust. Everything looks intact there. There's our resonator. So now we're looking from the back side. We can see where the motor mounts are located. They bolt right here to the frame. And it has these little silicone breast implants you can see here.
Wizard, stop playing with that.
Okay, sorry. The other side has one too. Don't leave it lonely.
Wizard.
Okay.
Bad wizard.
All right, well, those motor mounts are destroyed. Now we move back to the rear of the transmission, and here is the transmission mount. It is also completely flat, and it has a nubbin, a third boob there.
Wizard, you're killing me.
So all three of those are bad, and it transfers all engine vibrations directly to the framework or the body of the car, and you can really feel it. I've done those for probably 2 or 3 Maseratis, and it was usually $2 or $3 grand. Most of it was the parts, just for mounts. Here's our drive shaft. This does not have the solid torque tube down the middle because it is not an F1. Here's our differential. Take a look at our wheels back here. Struts are good there. CV shafts are good, they're not leaking. Here's our little ride height sensor for the skyhook suspension. Sway bar link is good. Over here, the strut is not leaking. CV boots are not leaking. Sway bar link is good. Everything looks good there. Not a whole lot wrong underneath, really. Let's talk about why that wheel is off. Get this thing back on the ground. So we don't have this thing all the way to the ground. We kept it at this height so we can show you guys what's going on here in the wheel well. When you would drive this car, the front right would sound like 2 beer cans, just bang, bang together. It sounded really, really bad. We did some diving in, and we did see some issues going on with some of the control arms. We really wouldn't be sure until we got it apart, but we definitely knew the strut. It was bad. You could move the car up and down, and the body of the strut, you could just see it shaking. Just like things inside of it it's broke. It's broke really, really bad. So we quoted him a new strut. Let's head on over to the little cart that shows parts. Here we have our TV cart with parts on it, and if you are the age of me and Mrs. Wizard or older, you remember in school they would wheel in the TV on the cart. This is the cart that they had. I bought these at an auction a while back and they work very well. I think I got them like $5 a piece. I've actually had salesmen come through and want to sell carts like this, and you know, we got really good quality, $300 each, and I'm like, get out, bro. $300 each, $5. So here's our strut. It is a skyhook strut, denoted by the wiring. It's electronic inside of here. And Magic Mike took this off, and you can't even move it. It's like it's seized up. And when you do move it, it makes very bad noises. You have to kind of put it in a vise and really pull it pretty hard, and it's like, it's really, really bad inside of here. We figured this would be the problem because it's so bad. It's failed miserably. I got a quote for one new skyhook strut. I don't want a rebuilt one. I don't want a used one. I want brand new with a warranty. The customer specifically said, I want a new one with a warranty. You have to remember with a used part, you've lost so much life already. Also, there's no warranty. I do install used parts for customers, but if the part fails, usually they bring their own part, and if it fails, you'll pay me a second time to take it back apart. Omega Auto Clinic did not cause the part to fail. We're not going to take the hit because of your part failed. Brand new one. $2,000 for one. That's not all four, just for one. I'll set this down. This one's junk. I contacted the customer, said definitely your strut's bad. It's going to be this much plus labor, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, okay, I'm going to slowly fix this car up, and I want to start with this. Let's get this fixed. So I ordered one. And I figured for $2,000, they'll surely include the bushing in the bottom, won't they? Nope. Not included. So I thought, okay, I'll try to save some money to the customer. I'll reuse the old bushing. And it's so floppy loose. Because this thing is damaged inside, a lot of the shock has been going directly to this bushing. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a lot of play, and that'll make a lot of clunking on top of the clunking that this shock was doing. I ordered a new bushing. It's on its way. $200 for that little bushing. That doesn't pay for the labor to press it in. It just pays for the bushing. It won't be much labor. It's not very much. So that takes care of that, and I thought, okay, we're good, everything's good to go, and Magic Mike brought me the control arm. Someone has replaced this bushing, but not this one. It's completely collapsed inside of there. You can see it's just, the rubber's destroyed. So when the old strut went bad, the person just said, I don't have money for that. I'm not going to mess with that right now. So they kept driving it, and meanwhile causing more damage, destroying the little bushing, destroying the control arm bushings. It's like, who cares? Now this customer gets to replace those things. We called him and said, look, the bushings are like $600 to replace. It comes as a set. You get both. We're going to have to press those out and get those replaced. It just keeps adding up. Why they only did one bushing and not the other, I don't know. The labor's the same, really, to get it all apart and get it there. But so if you have the idea, I'll buy one of these Maseratis, or I'll buy a BMW or something, a high-end car for cheap, and I'll fix it up. We really haven't made any ground physically, and we're in the thousands of dollars. We spent $2,000 just to get a strut. We got control arm bushings and a strut bushing and the labor. We also replaced the old mirror switch. A couple $100 parts and labor just to replace that. Those are the three things the customer wanted. The mirror switch, take care of this clunking noise, and also check into getting the radio, either the screen replaced or see what's going on with that. We can't do anything for the radio. We already replaced the mirror switch. Once these parts come in for the suspension, we'll be able to reassemble, and the clunking will be gone. So it's easy to try to be insulting to this customer and say, bro, your Maserati's a pile. But that's very disrespectful and that's very rude. The customer bought it that way on purpose and would like to slowly fix it up over time and end up with a nice car. We're happy to help him with that, but as you see, the price is going to add up very quickly. I've actually had cars like this, or like I mentioned, BMWs, Jaguars, and things where people bought them really cheap on Craigslist or Facebook, and then we get a price together to fix a whole bunch of stuff. 7, 8 grand worth of repairs. And then I hear the comment, I didn't even spend that much for the car. Here's the thing. That car is a $100,000 or $200,000 car. The value of the car has dropped. The prices of the parts did not. They're still quoted as $200,000 car parts. So just because you bought the car for 5 grand doesn't mean that the suppliers or the makers of the parts are going to say, oh, that's cool, bro. We'll cut 80% off the price of the parts for you. No, they're not. These parts are Ferrari prices. A strut for 2 grand, that's Ferrari land. We're in Ferrari land for parts on these. And that's to be expected. It's a Maserati. But don't buy an Aston Martin. They're even higher than a Ferrari. Daniel's son has told me the places he worked in Florida, for a while he worked at a speed shop, and they would work on a few Aston Martins here or there. And the owner of that shop was even surprised. He works on Ferraris all day long, and an Aston Martin will come in, and as far as the price is concerned, will run circles around a Ferrari all day long. It's like, how? It's not even, I mean, you don't think in your mind that an Aston Martin is, but it is. So if you find a cheap Aston Martin, don't buy it. You will pay dearly, dearly to get it fixed. And I mean that as a project, not just a used Aston Martin. A 2015 Aston Martin is probably still an okay car. What I mean is a project car. Do not buy an Aston Martin project car. So the parts should be here pretty soon. We'll get this thing back together. We'll leave it here in the air so that it can be reassembled. And as the customer goes along, they're going to slowly replace pieces here or there and try to have a decent driving and decent running car again. So I applaud them for that. If you're curious what kind of tools that we use to take the front end apart on this, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.